welcome to ScreenPlay, where we review elements of pop culture from music and television to video games and film. I'm your host, Noah Bailey. Today we'll be reviewing a film which recently was released on DVD and Blu-ray, X-Men, Days of Future Past. Then later in the show, I'll be reviewing Grace Point, a 10-part miniseries that started airing on Fox earlier this month. So, Joseph, you reviewed X-Men, Days of Future Past. Tell us about that. What did you think?
As a film, it was simply superb. It's a continuation of the storyline from the X-Men film, First Class, but also of the films that take place, in the future of that. And it's really fun because it plays with the time travel setup, where the future and the past are actually happening simultaneously. And it's got a lot of really cool action sequences. Special effects are top-notch. But what really shines in this film is the dramatic sequences and all the character development and the way they play with the characters in the story.
I agree. So how did you feel about having the young versions of Professor X and Magneto and the older versions of them in the same film?
I was originally hesitant about that. I was wondering if that would, bite it back in the film, but it really worked well. In all cases, they all acted superbly. All the characters were likable, were relatable, and in general, just very well performed, and it worked well with the story.
Yeah, I agree. I thought that was really cool, too. Not being much of an X-Men fan myself, I've only seen one previous X-Men film. I didn't really know what to expect, but I was surprised, and I liked it a lot. How did you feel about getting to see a little bit of Wolverine's backstory? I know that he's had previous movies, but I also know that you got to see a little, sliver of part of his life that you really haven't seen before.
He wasn't really the focus of this movie.
No,
he appeared you see a couple minor glimpses, but ultimately it's more of a role reversal for his character. In general, Wolverine is the gruff, doesn't want to have anything to do with anybody type. But in this movie, he plays as the mentor towards the characters that are normally the mentors in the X-Men series. But it was kind of funny. I'm not going to spoil it for anybody, but how he shows up in the past is kind of the best.
Nice. I believe I know what scene you're talking about. So something I thought that was interesting, too, I feel like people tend to forget that Jennifer Lawrence, now being so mainstream as she was in the previous X-Men movies, but I feel like not a lot of people talk about her previous work in the X-Men movies. But now that she's, more in the spotlight, people, I feel like, we're obsessed with the fact of, oh my gosh, Jennifer Lawrence is going to be in this new X-Men movie. Let's go see it. Do you think she was able to draw a lot of... Yeah, the star
power is easily helping the films.
Yeah.
And that was true before as well, but it was especially the case with these films. And I don't normally put too much credit to having major star power, but considering how well the roles were performed, it really was in its favor. The favor of the film. This especially goes for Peter Dinklage, who plays as the film's antagonist. Who, in general, you can't hate Peter Dinklage.
Of course.
Even when he's playing a villain. But he performed spectacularly in the film as well.
He did. There really wasn't that many, weak links in the cast or in the story, and it was great. So we're doing something a little bit different today. I have reviewed something. I've reviewed Grace Point, a TV show on Fox that premiered earlier this month. Now, Joseph, we were talking earlier, you have not seen Grace Point, so let me explain for our audience at home that may have not watched this. This, in my opinion, is a very well-written show, so far at least, starring Anna Gunn, otherwise known as Skylar White from Breaking Bad, and David Tennant, otherwise known as the Doctor previously from Doctor Who. And they star two detectives, and there has been a murder of a 13-year-old boy on a small seaside town in Washington or something like that. And everybody has specific motives that they may have killed the boy, or their alibis really aren't matching up, and their aliases aren't matching up, and it's a really well written film or TV show in my opinion. But something really interesting about it is it's a 10-part series, and then it's done. So
Only 10 episodes?
Yes, only 10 episodes. They're not going to do a season 2. There's no like spin-offs or anything like that. It's just what it is.
That's unheard of.
And that's it. It is unheard of. But I think that's a smart move because it puts more of an emphasis on people for like, oh my gosh, like I should watch this because once it's gone, it's gone. There's not going to be...
Doing that kind of thing would make it a lot more like a movie in its conciseness of its writing.
Exactly.
You don't have to worry about having to have something to continue from later.
Exactly. And then another thing about it is so many of the shows that are now spanning, 8, 9, 10 seasons, like, Bones, you still have the same storylines going on for 10 years. Whereas this, they can really pack 6 or 7 seasons worth of arcs and character development in one season. So it makes each episode, kind of packed with a lot of stuff.
Especially a problem when you've got seasons that just keep dragging on. Like, we get it, in the X-Files, we get it. You're supposed to be skeptical of aliens, but you've seen aliens at this point, haven't you?
Exactly.
It gets ridiculous at a certain point.
Exactly. So I'm interested to see where the show goes. In my opinion, it's a little bit on a lull right now. I think not too long ago, this week they were premiering their 5th episode, but the first like 3 or 4 episodes were amazing, and the last episode was kind of so-so. But I'm interested to see where it's going to go, because this was based on a series called Broadchurch that BBC did in Britain. And it has like a completely different ending. And I actually watched Broadchurch, so I would be interested to see where this differs. Yeah.
I'm having trouble imagining David Tennant as a detective. I'm sorry, that's hilarious to me.
Yes, it is definitely kind of weird, but it's good. He does a very good job in my opinion. So yeah. All right. Well, that's all the time that we have for our reviews today. Thank you so much, Joseph, for sharing your review. You can find the full reviews at auspartannews.com. Now it's time for our last thoughts, where we discuss current events in pop culture. Today we'll be discussing Halloween. Very appropriate. So, Joseph, do you have any plans for Halloween?
I plan on dressing up as a creepy organist and, playing scary music at trick-or-treaters.
Very cool. Now, is that at your house, or is that...
Yeah, it's at my place.
Very nice.
Try to do that every year.
Very cool. So that's just like a tradition like you and your family have?
Sort of.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Nice.
Speaking of traditions, we've got a lot of holiday traditions, especially with Halloween. We tend to watch Nightmare Before Christmas every Halloween because you just don't do better than that movie.
Yeah.
For our family to not watch that movie on Halloween is basically sacrilegious.
Ooh.
Similarly to how we watch Die Hard for Christmas.
That's very cool, and in my opinion, those are 2 very appropriate movies to be watching. Yeah.
Do you have a preferred movie for Halloween?
I really like the Halloween movie starring Jamie Lee Curtis and our classic friend, Michael Myers.
Of course.
I think it's interesting to study that.
Friend's a funny word.
What?
Friend is a funny word.
Oh, friend is a funny word. Yes, it is. But it's interesting to now having that film be 35 years old, 30 years old.
It's seriously that old?
Yeah, it was in the 70s. Jamie Lee Curtis was only 19 when she made that film. It's really interesting to see kind of what was the start of the modern day horror slasher film. And so I'll probably watch that tonight. I saw on Lifetime they had 5 of the 200 Halloween movies that they have playing. And so that will be my evening. I promise it's not as sad as it sounds. So that's all the time that we have. Once again, thank you so much, Joseph, for being on the show today.
Pleasure.
And thank you for watching. So those of you that are watching now, if you have something you'd like to review, or if you have a topic for us to talk about, mention AU Spartan Media on Twitter, or use the hashtag #AUScreenPlay. You can also head on over to auspartannews.com to tell us what you're doing for Halloween on our poll. Now, if you are free next week, come join the culture team at the AU Spartan Media launch party on Wednesday, November 5th from 4 to 6 p.m. in the Dunham Atrium. You can find out more information about how you can be a part of future Screenplay episodes. I'm your host, Noah Bailey, and we will be back again next week for future pop culture reviews. See you later.